Our foster care system is shattered. And this podcast is about how we as a community can come together to bring about change. Change in the system and changing the lives of children in foster care. Hi, my name is Rob Shear. I'm the founder of a national charity called Comfort Cases. I'm an advocate for children in foster care. I'm a public speaker. I'm an author of A Forever Family. But most important, I'm a dad to 5 of the most amazing kids. Welcome to the Fostering Change podcast. Hi, everybody. It's Rob Shear, and I'm so excited that you have decided to listen and watch us on Fostering Change. You know, can say that in the last several years, as I've started this journey, I have been able to meet some amazing people. But I will say today has got to be the icing on the cake. I am so excited to introduce my next guest. But before that happens, I want to talk again about Orphan Myth. You know, I spoke about this last week. This is an amazing 100% platform participation campaign. And I really want us to understand exactly what it's called. Orphan Myth. You know, with my last guest last week, I actually told some things that I had never said before. You know, the fact that I had never realized that I truly was an orphan. You know, as a kid at the age of 12, to go into a foster care system, you're considered an orphan. And then for me to become 18 in the fall of 1984, a senior in high school, when the only thing I wanted was to get my diploma, I became a homeless kid. And when I became homeless, I then became an orphan. And so it's been a long journey for me to talk about that. But I will tell you, this campaign has helped in more ways than you can imagine. For all the dollars that people have been donating for the last week, you are truly making a change in a child's life. It does not matter where this child is living. Maybe the child is living in my little town of Darnestown, Maryland, or maybe this child is living in Sri Lanka. It does not matter, because we must understand one important thing. Children, they truly are our future. And kids who are in the system, and whether you call it foster care, whether you call it an orphanage in another country, we all must understand that these kids end up in that situation because of a choice someone else made. They are in that situation because someone else made a choice. Now, we all have an opportunity to make a choice like we have never made before, and understand that these kids, as my friend said last week, they're not other people's children. These kids do not belong to me. They do not belong to you. They belong to us. And I will tell you, each and every one of us have an opportunity to be good humans. And my next guest, he's really showing it like it's supposed to be. You know, a lot of people who have been in the 20th season of the ABC hit series Bachelor could have easily gone off and done something on its own. He could have been one who decided to jump from movie screen to movie screen, but instead, from what I'm reading about my friend Ben Higgins, he's done nothing but give back. Ben, welcome to Fostering Change.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here. That's quite the introduction.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Let me tell you, I am so excited to start talking about this, but there's like 3 or 4 things I really want to get in. But, you know, I have to tell you that I had the opportunity to read a lot of your book, Alone in Plain Sight. This book, for all of our listeners and our watchers, this book came out in February, so it just came out last month. And I will have to tell you, Ben, I actually had to set some of the book down because you really did something that I talk about quite often. Is you became very raw in that book and talked about that whole thing about feeling alone. And here you are, as a bachelor, in the 20th season. You have all these people around you. You're very successful, but at that same time, you felt alone.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the best way to frame that then is you can think about all these things that you can imagine what all these people have around you, right? Everybody has a story. Everybody's story matters. And so you can look at somebody and kind of make an assumption. You can look at somebody and kind of make a judgment. But those things don't speak to what's going on internally. Those things don't speak to what's going on that's in their past. And I think for me, the more I tried to fill my life with these things that I could mark off and say that was a success, or maybe that would get me recognized, or maybe that would bring me fulfillment. The more I did that, the more I was pushing my feelings to the side and making me feel more isolated and more alone. It was a theme of my life. It still is at times a theme of my life. At least now I can speak about it openly, which might be what you're speaking to. At least now I can verbalize it, and that starts the healing.
Yeah, I truly do believe that. I have very similar the same journey. I'm always trying to check off that box of, of completion, but am I really feeling what's inside? Just last week I posted on one of my social media platforms about, even though people always see Rob's sheer smile, you have no idea what's going on inside of me. And I think that that's so true with so many people.
It is. It's the one thing I realized as I was writing Alone in Plain Sight is I was trying to find a connecting point for us as humans. And I think there's a great moments of celebration, mutual celebration and mutual joy that we can come together and celebrate each other and lift each other up. But the one thing that continued to resonate as I asked people questions and as I dug in people's lives, maybe the one thing that can connect us is shared pain, that we all have pain, that we're all hurting at some level. And so if that's the truth, I know that sounds heavy, right? But if that's the truth, that we can connect through our shared pains, how beautiful is it that we can come together in our shared pains as well and start to lift each other up? What if the assumption that we go into conversations with others or when we meet others is that we want to lift each other up because we can imagine or assume that at some level people are hurting?
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing to do. I think it actually could allow us to celebrate more as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100% with you on that. And the fact is, each and every one of us have pain or have had pain on some level. I think that is something that so many times we do not seem to lift each other up as humans. The whole thing about, the Orphan Myth campaign that we're doing, it's like, so many times, I mean, here in the United States, we stopped calling them orphanages. We call them group homes. There's no difference. These are still kids who are in a system. And you want to talk about pain.
Yeah.
The pain that these kids are going through on every single day. I've gotta ask you some questions about The Bachelor, because if not, all of our listeners would just they would yell and scream. But you and my friend Sarah Fraser are friends, and Sarah is also a podcaster. And she was over the weekend, was her and I were texting back and forth. And I have to tell you, when as someone who's watched The Bachelor, did you feel as after this and writing this book that helped you in some of the path that you were going down as The Bachelor, trying to figure out what the pain was for all these other individuals there?
Well, I was learning it it's actually really interesting. People have all different experiences from doing the show. And the show for some is just a really fun experience. For others, it's a very traumatic experience. For others, it's a moment that changed their life forever, for better or for worse. For me, it was an interesting ride, and I'll tell it short. I went on the show when I was at a pretty lonely place. I was living in Denver, didn't really have any friends, was really bad at my job, didn't really have an identity, didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. Went on to the show. Everything obviously starts to change. You start to get attention like you've never had it before. People start to ask you more questions and care about you more than they ever have before. But during that, one of the producers came up to me. He's a buddy of mine now, and I love him dearly, but I don't know if this is the best tack to do it, because I don't like you, Ben. I said, what do you mean you don't like me? He goes, I don't like you because I don't know you. You don't let anybody get to know you. You hide in the corner. You say the right thing at the right moment. You don't say anything when stuff gets difficult. I don't like you because you don't let me get to know you. Well, that was the phrase that struck me. I don't like you because you don't let me get to know you. And the assumption there is that he wanted to know me. I was just stopping it. So that day we stopped and talked for 4 hours, just he and I broke down, and I admitted to him that I really didn't let anybody get to know me, because I was defending myself, where if people didn't like me, I could make the excuse of, well, they just don't know me. But then I would also validate that same thing and say, I'm not going to let, if people do like me, it's because I'm not letting them get to know me. And so I'm just showing them pieces of myself, and they just like the pieces. And if I showed my whole self, then they wouldn't accept me at all. So this was, I was validating both negative sides of this. And so that broke me down. And well, it lasted into then when I became the Bachelor. And that perspective, or admitting that for the first time, did help me, because it humbled me. Like, it kind of like, in a sense, like, it never allowed my ego. I mean, I have a big ego, and it can flourish at any time. But that like mindset of like, hey, I'm broken and I'm trying to figure it out. It really, and as I was in a season of growth, and as I was on The Bachelor during a season of growth, it really helped me stay steady and stay very curious, not only to myself and what I was feeling, but to the people around me.
Wow. Wow. I have to tell you, I give you lots of props for saying the fact that you actually have an ego. I think that's a huge step for people to realize, because I think each and every one of us have an ego at some level. But you're able to admit that and say, yeah, you have a pretty big ego.
Man, when you go on reality television and everybody's taught you realize your ego gets big quick, and you realize where it is, right? I mean, even today, I woke up on a Monday morning, and I had 2 emails that are a little bit like frustrating, maybe a little disappointing. And I was like, gosh, dang it. Like, I just need to get my name back out there. Right. That was the first thought, is how do I get more press around this? And then I was like, what are you doing? Like, you've walked away from this, like not being in the spotlight, but you've walked away from the desire to need to be noticed. You've walked away from your ego trying to get you to be relevant still.
But at 1.2 million followers on Instagram, my friend, I know people are recognizing you wherever you go.
Yeah. But it's not healthy. And when that's the pursuit, I will tell you, it's unfulfilling. It's never fulfilled. It's never satisfied. It's never done anything for me other than honestly allow me to never be a stranger any place. I remember I was in a gas station in Oklahoma driving through, and somebody goes, "There's Ben." I was like, "That's cool. That's the cool part about this, being recognized in gas stations in the middle of nowhere." But it's never been fulfilling. There always had to be something more outside of myself that allowed me to feel fulfilled.
I love that. I love that. And that's exactly what I want us to start talking about. We're going to take a quick break here. Everybody, I know you are as excited as I am to have Ben Higgins here and to talk not only about his book, Alone in Plain Sight, but we're going to talk about some other amazing things that Ben has been doing. I say this quite often, and it sounds like a broken record, but the most flattering thing you can do for our podcast is to share it. Whether you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify or Google or any platform, please share our podcast, and then leave us a review. Constructive criticism is the best criticism anyone can give. And if there's somebody that you think that we should uplift or just have a conversation with, please make sure that they email us at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. And then do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This season, now that we're on YouTube, it's been kind of weird. Like, I'm really critical of myself. Am I sitting upright? Am I smiling at the right time? So please leave those reviews. We love them, and we'll be right back. This episode of Fostering Change is sponsored by Comfort Cases, a national nonprofit that is inspiring our communities to bring dignity and hope to youth in foster care. For just $10 a month, you can support the Comfort Cases mission to eliminate trash bags from the foster care system. For every $10 donated, a Comfort XL duffel bag will be given to a child entering foster care. Please help us be part of the change. Go to comfortcases.org and see how you can help a child entering our foster care system. Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited that we're sitting here talking to Ben Higgins. And as you all know, he was the Bachelor on the 20th season, and he has an amazing book that just came out in February. So please, you want a good listen. We're all getting ready for nice weather. It's nice. This weekend, I spent a lot of time out in the yard with the kids, and it's never been a better time to sit back and just listen or read an amazing book. So please, Alone in Plain Sight is Ben's book. But Ben, I want to talk about the fact of other things that you're doing. I always kind of in awe when I see people like you who could make a path on so many different levels. But for you, you're involved in so many things. I've heard your name mentioned several times when I'm talking to people, but one of the things is Generous Coffee.
Mhm.
I'd like for you to let our listeners and watchers know why and
Mhm.
how do they get involved.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. It's a big deal for me. I still call it my full-time job. It is. It's the thing that takes up most of my time. But it's a unique job as well. 11 years ago, my buddies and I, my one buddy, we all kind of wrapped around him, started a nonprofit out of Honduras called Humanity and Hope United. And in short, Humanity and Hope United's idea was, instead of going into the communities and telling them what they need to do and giving them all these things, we went in and we asked them, what do you need? What do you want? What do you dream of? And how can we help? And we would just come behind these communities and let them lead us and build up sustainable communities that could then, and sustainable small businesses and sustainable healthcare, sustainable education, all led by the community, that we were just the resource behind the scenes to kind of help them get there. It's a beautiful thing. It formed some incredible partnerships. It's going very well. Well, I become the Bachelor, right? And we go from being a really small nonprofit to a fairly large nonprofit within 1 year, right? The advocacy and the following, and we went from, I think, $150,000 to over $500,000 in 1 year. That's a massive amount of growth. So on a trip that following year to Honduras, a question came to my buddy and I's mind, the founder of the organization. We said, I'm not going to be the Bachelor forever. I can't be. I don't want to be. And when our fundraising or our platform now kind of fades, where's Humanity and Hope going to be? If we're a strategic planning organization, then we need a strategic fundraising model. And so we started putting our minds together, and we came up with this idea that we could start a for-profit company. We could find people, men and women, who were in the financial position of life to sign on to this. They could help us found this. And we could launch a company that was for profit, but donated 100% of the profits to nonprofits and social causes around the world that are fighting human-facing injustice. And so the owners we've all signed off and said that we cannot make any profit personally from the value of the company or from the sale of a product, that we cannot make anything from that. Everything's being donated back. And so we're a coffee company. You can find us at generouscoffee.com. We sell all online. We have one coffee shop. COVID took one of ours away. But we're mostly online business. And the whole idea is that we can sell coffee and t-shirts and bracelets and mugs, and then donate back and help these nonprofits continue to fundraise for their longevity.
Wow, I love that. I absolutely, it always reminds me of, whether it's the Bombas, buy one, give one,
Yeah.
sackcloth and ashes, our friend Bob, who has buy a blanket, wrap someone who's experiencing homeless and a child in foster care with a blanket. I absolutely love this idea. So they can go to the generousmovement.com and be able to look at your swag and also,
Yep.
purchase. I'm definitely going on to purchase some coffee. I drink enough of it all day long. So, so how do you choose those nonprofits?
A good question. Yeah, it's Generous Coffee or Generous Movement. Both URLs will go there. The best way to help too is just buy our product, right? We have a great team. We do have an ambassador program, but the best way right now is COVID hurt us, so it'd be to buy some product. We choose nonprofits. We have to simplify it. We have to find. We are a human-focused organization. So there's a lot of great causes out there. I love animals. I love the environment. I don't want that to go miss. But our lane and what we feel like God has called us to is to care about people and love on people well. So that's our lane. That's our focus. So they have to be a human-focused nonprofit or social cause. They have to be effective in their mission. So when they tell us their mission, they have to be showing that they're doing it, like that they've proven it out. I love a good startup. But when we invest this money, we have to invest in organizations that are already out there doing the work, that have built a foundation. That's kind of our lane as well. They have to be efficient. So we ask to see their financials. They have to be proven they're efficient with their funds. So if we give them, $5,000, where is that $5,000 going? Honestly, My dream would be that Generous can fund the pens and the paper and the salaries of the employees, because those are the hardest things to fundraise for. Those are hard campaigns to start up. I would love that. I have no problem with that, but we have to make sure that those are being efficient. The organizations are being efficient, and then they have to be sustainable. So I worked for years with a disaster relief organization, and it's a fantastic deal. You go into places that have been hit hard by natural disasters or by civil war, and you give out aid. But one of the things that Generous wants to do is we want to focus on the sustainability factor. So if you're in sex trafficking, we not only want to see you being rescued, but also being rehabilitated and being supported as you walk back into society. If it's community development, we want to see these communities be passed back off to the community leaders long term. You could take 20 years, but the plan is, hey, at some point, let's push this off so that it's sustainable and that they can take this on their own. Those are the organizations. So that's how we choose.
Yeah. It's like, when Reese and I started Comfort Cases 8 years ago, we literally started in the conference room. I'm a banker by trade. And so I was sitting in my conference room, and probably very much like you, I just felt like I had to do more.
Yeah.
It was really nice earning the paycheck, and, I was an executive traveling everywhere, but I had to do more. And so when we started Comfort Cases, we really wanted to make sure that we were impacting our community. That was so important for us. And we wanted to make sure that we made change within our foster care system. I mean, when we hear the statistics where only 54% of kids in foster care actually graduate from high school, we knew we had failed. And the only thing I kept thinking back to, Ben, was the trash bag that I carried as a little boy, the trash bag that all 5 of my children arrived carrying. And I thought, how could we as a country to be so caring that we do not think about as something as simple as giving a child a new case instead of a trash bag. And so this idea popped up in my head. I remember getting some members of my church together and some of my senior team, and I proceeded to tell them the story of, my story of a kid with a trash bag, being homeless, and my 5 children. And then we started putting cases together, just brand new pajamas, toothbrush, shampoo, lotion, a book, a blanket, just the basics of a child who deserves something on their very first night. And Ben, I have to toot my horn a little bit here, my friend, but we've delivered almost 150,000 cases to all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. And you want to talk about looking at someone's 990? Up until 2 years ago, we were 100% volunteer.
That's
100% volunteer. And this year, because of the growth, and even with COVID, we've had such a growth. I mean, we took this little tiny, conference room idea and turned this into a movement. And, this year alone, another 25,000 cases will walk out our door, but we're still 96% volunteer ran, because I am very much the type of person who believes that when you have an organization, when you have a .org, a foundation, a charity, your main mission is to make sure that the money that you bring in goes to the mission. But I love what you said about trying to fundraise, because as you know, you have to have staff. You have to have staff, and that's what we've started to do. So we're using about 4 or 5% for that staff.
You got to get some people out there getting paid, but it's incredible. Your story is really awesome, because one of the things that identifies to me too is you start in a conference room, your heart's being fluttering or being torn apart, or you have this passion that's coming up inside of you, and you choose to take action. And then look what that action has done. What if you would have chosen to say, you know what, not right now, right? Next year. Or, hey, maybe I'm not capable. Maybe I'm not suitable. Maybe not me. Maybe somebody else. And no, you said no, yes, me. And I think it's one of the coolest things, because sometimes in my life, I get this, hey, you were the Bachelor, you have 1.5 million followers, and that's great. It is a huge benefit and blessing to me. It's been incredible. I would not want it any other way. But the thing that diminishes is, for anybody listening or hearing me talk, is to say, well, you can do it too. Because ultimately, if you take away the followers and you take away my time on the show, we're all the same. We still are the same. I just maybe have a social media following, but all of us have this huge ability to make a massive impact. And I think that's the coolest part, is that's one of the things I want to do, is just encourage all of us to get out there and take action on some of the stuff that really fires us up. Because, hey, in a few years, you could be talking about 150,000 things being delivered. That's incredible and should be celebrated.
Yeah, well, thank you. And the fact that what you just said, you talked about this in the first segment about pain. And, I truly believe that each and every one of us should take our pain and make it into purpose, and make it into purpose, because we as humans are doers, each and every one of us. Well, Ben, I will have to tell you, again, I am so lucky that I get to interview you. I'm also lucky the fact that we have so many mutual friends. So
Yeah.
I know our path is going to cross again. And, for all of our listeners, our followers, do me a big favor. Please go to Generous Coffee, purchase. We're at a time, as we all know, COVID has really, really hurt so many people. And the fact that this is an organization that is not lining their pockets, but they're actually trying to lift other people up. So every time you buy one of those t-shirts, the coffee, I'm going to be purchasing them today. It really is going to go a long way. And I know each and every one of us as humans, we want to be good humans, and we want to make sure that our dollar stretches. Again, you want a great book? Alone in Plain Sight. It is going to be the book of the summer. It is your beach-going book. It will lift you up, and it truly will make you feel in something. And I didn't say this to you, Ben, in the very beginning, but I've gone through that stage in my life, and I've had cameras in my face where I've talked about my depression and so many times that I feel alone. And when your book was given to me the other day, and I was reading excerpts of it, it was during a time of my week that I was feeling kind of alone, and I was able to brush that off. So thank you so much. So Ben, we're gonna wrap this up. Any last words you'd like to tell everybody?
Well, this is great. I would love for our paths to cross, and I'm glad they're crossing virtually, kind of underneath the umbrella of not only what you're up to and what I'm up to and what the team's up to, but also what Orphan Myth is up to. And I think it's such a really important time for us just to start paying attention to the hurts around us. There's a lot of people hurting. We're about to be, give it X amount of months, a year, we're going to be able to be back out in person and dealing with some of these things head on. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'd love for people to go out and buy the book. That's a big deal. Review it. As you said, share it. That's what I found out in the book world is so massive. And then also go to Generous Coffee and purchase. But most importantly, just thanks for having me. Thanks for the conversation. It's meant a lot.
Ben, it's been great. So listen, everybody, do exactly what Ben just said. Make sure you leave a review. I know as an author, I wrote my book for two reasons. Number one, I want you to love it in your mind. Number two, I want you to love it in your heart. But the most flattering thing you could ever do for a book is pass it on. Pass it on. There's no such thing as a used book. It's only a book that's been loved. And we need you to love this book. So please make sure you write a review. Make sure you go to Generous Coffee. Make sure you purchase coffee, swag. Let's support each other, because as Ben said, we're going to be past this in the next several months, but let's not forget where we were. Okay. Let's not forget where we were, because we have a long way to go. Once again, please make sure you share our podcast. We cannot thank you enough for listening to Fostering Change. And each and every day, we must understand we all have an opportunity, and that's to be part of the change. Thank you, and have a great day. I would like to thank all of you for listening to the Fostering Change podcast. You can subscribe on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Make sure you follow Comfort Cases on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter at Comfort Cases. Check out the Fostering Change blog at comfortcases.org. And I know some of you have a question, and I know some of you would love to be a guest. Please personally reach out to me at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. That's fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Then do me a big favor. Please help spread the word. Share this podcast. Share it with your friends and your family. Remember, I say this quite often, we're all part of the same community, and that community, it's not our zip code, but our human race. Let's all make a difference.